Hi, my name's John Frost, Safety Products Manager for Kemppi Finland, and today we're going to talk about the Gamma series of safety protection models. First of all, it has to be said there are a number of different options to choose from throughout the Gamma family, and those options include two standard welding helmets, one with a passive lens and one with an auto-active lens, and then there are 5 alternative respirator models, and those respirator models are covered by 3 options in PAPR and 2 options with a supplied air regulated system. So first of all, let's talk about the actual head top itself. What different options do you have in the Gamma series for the actual protection for the welding arc and the optical protection under those welding conditions? We can see here, this is the Gamma 100A, and this is a standard welding head top in the Gamma series. This is also available as a passive model, and you can see here the passive lens easily fits and is changeable within seconds for the head top itself. But what we're showing here is a system that has a large grinding visor, so you've got 170 degrees of view, so you've got very wide worksite views, and you have a flip-up welding shield which carries the welding cassette itself. So we can also see here that you've got a cover lens system, so this doesn't require any frames to be removed, and it's nice and simple to reattach the system. So let's have a little look at the ADF lenses themselves. So in the 100A, you've got the SA60, and that is 60 millimeters in height and 102 millimeters in this longer dimension, supported by 2 solar panels either side. This provides you with 9 to 13 adjustable shades, and those shades are adjustable from a remote control just here inside. It's actually inboard of the welding helmet shell itself, so you're not actually going to damage the remote control, and this is covered with silicone rubber, so it's very easy to actually locate those connections and make the operation whilst you're wearing the product. The welding lenses themselves include color-coded bars. Now, you might ask, why do you have the color coding when you've actually got numeration on those parameter settings? Well, if you think about the optical length of your eyes and the way that your eyes work, once the lens is quite close to your face, you can't see any of the numeration. And if you're wearing one of our respirators, the last thing you want to be doing is removing the respirator in order to operate the auto lens settings. So we've placed some color bars on the ADF itself, so you can then operate the remote control and you know exactly which parameter you're adjusting. So quite a neat little feature and quite a clever addition by our design engineers. The remote control itself has a changeable battery, and that battery should last quite a long time, many months of working, but of course it all depends on how frequently you're using the welding helmet and how frequently the helmet is actually put to one side and it's going to sleep. So let's have a little look at this grinding visor. So how does the grinding visor attach? Well, again, it's part of the click lens system. So what you have are the orange tabs at the side, and by the way, all orange elements are typically adjustable elements on the Kemppi product. So you lift the tab and pull away the grinding visor, and there you have it, molded and suitable for high impact. It's 120 meters per second with a stainless steel ball which are fired at these lenses in testing, and everything is independently tested, so it's not as if Kemppi make a design and say, yes, we believe that's good enough. You design the product and it goes forward for independent testing, so you make sure that the product is actually reaching the necessary standards, and then the lens will simply click back into position. Now, what I will say at this point is our systems are also available as respirators, and therefore this lens has to seal very well around this area here. So you'll see that there's a groove top and bottom here, and that matches with the groove actually on the lens itself. You can see the grooves moulded into the lens top and bottom. So when you reinstall the lens, pop it on the top, clip in one side, and then just roll the lens around until it clips on the opposite side, and there you have it. Now, interestingly, what you can also do, if you're not engaged in welding all of the time, what you can do is to remove this welding visor itself. And I've got the 100A, the passive product, under the table here, so I'll just bring that to the top. So here you can see the actual welding visor from the passive lens version has been removed, and what you have here is a very lightweight, high quality grinding visor, providing you with very good worksite views. So you've got 170 degrees of viewing angle here, and you can see that the actual lens itself is just cut behind the eyes. So very good for grinding pre and post weld operations. So you can see that there are a number of features already which make this a particularly good choice for heavy fabrication. And typically, I have to say, the Gamma series is very much about heavy fabrication environments. It's environments where you're working typically with MIG-MAG, MMA process, gouging, etc. So one of the, if there's one element that probably we would like to tune lower, it would be the weight, because if you have the additional visor, any system with the additional visor does carry a little extra weight, but what it also does is provide very high thermal protection for high current, high temperature work, and it also provides excellent impact values as well, and of course gives you the option to work with or without the visor itself. So what else have you got? Well, you'll notice on our product that you have an orange knob to the side here, and this control allows you, if I can just hold this still, you can see that if I turn this regulation knob, you can see that what you have is the headband is moving. So if the headband is attached to your head, what's happening here is you're actually regulating the viewing angle of the lens itself. And when you're wearing the welding lens, this means that actually you can adjust the lens for overhead or downhand working without taking the product off and without making any additional settings itself. So, I'll just put those underneath and bring this back to the top. Another neat feature, how many of you have suffered nuisance ADF lens triggering? If you've got people operating opposite, they're welding away, striking their arcs, and you're trying to set up, you're trying to fabricate, you're trying to set out some work, and you can't see what you're doing. Well, if you only have a lens or a welding head top with an ADF fitted, that can be quite a nuisance. So what we've done with this particular product is to fit a gap view setting. So you push this regulation knob at the side, and that just provides you with 10 to 15 millimeter gap here, so you can actually see through to the work site. Nice and convenient, and again, you can actually set that and regulate that whilst you're wearing the product itself. So there you have the 100P, P standing for passive lens, and the 100A standing for active lens, and they're the two standard welding helmets in the Gamma series. So then we move on to respirator products. Now, when it comes to human beings, of course, we all have two of these. Now, well, we hope that we've got two of these. So here we are, we're working in the welding and fabrication environment, and in our previous videos we've talked a great deal about the necessary protection for the respiratory system. And I don't know about you, but certainly I wasn't aware when I was welding a good few years ago now about the hazards and impact on your health for the welding environment, the fumes and the toxicity and the nature of some of the elements that are actually in that airborne contamination. So it doesn't matter where you live on the planet, it doesn't matter what country you're living in, you can be sure that you've got two of these to protect. So it's absolutely essential that you're using some form of respiration. Of course, it's your choice, but I would highly recommend, and so would Kemppi, that you use some form of respirator. So here we are. Let's talk about Gamma respirators. And Gamma respirators are providing you with the highest quality respiratory protection available on the market today. So what you have is 99.8% respiratory protection, providing that you're maintaining and fitting this product correctly for your head shape and your face. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're clean shaven or whether you have facial hair. A positive pressure respirator, which relies on fabric face seal and a positive air feed into the air tube here and coming through this diffuser, will provide you with superb protection, because it's actually, the positive pressure is eliminating and keeping out the harmful environment that's created through the welding process. And that can be filtered through a battery powered filter set, or you can have an airline supplied breathing source. So the Gamma respirator, as I say, has a fabric face seal, and that fabric face seal is very easy to remove and replace, and can be laundered for, if it's getting sweaty and it's getting a bit smelly, yes, you can take it off and you can put it through your washing machine. And it's actually attached through some poppers. Takes about 5 to 10 minutes to replace it. You'll be thinking of me the first time that you do it, but do it once and you'll be absolutely on song with it. So let's talk about the actual system itself. We have inside an air diffuser, and that air diffuser can also be removed. And you can see here that there's quite a lot of work being done in terms of the way the air is delivered to the face. So you don't want to be blasted with cooling air all of the time, because it can be quite irritating. So the engineers at Kemppi have created quite a soft air diffusion through this plate, and you also have some air which is coming up over the face as well, and that can be removed occasionally, again for sanitation purposes. You have the air delivery tube here, and that air delivery tube for the XFA model is also carrying some terminals for our lighting system. And you can see here with the XFA that you've got two 70 lumen LED lights, and those lights are ideal for low light conditions where it's difficult to see, and perhaps you're having to carry around either a flashlight or you're carrying mains powered supplied lights. Take the XFA model, and as you can see on our display here, the lights are already burning away, and we'll plug this in a moment when we show you the PFU unit. So on the XFA itself, you have a 74mm by 102mm ADF, and the ADF also provides from shade 5 up to shade 15. So you can select welding shades from 9 to 15, and that's quite useful when you're working at extremely high currents. What other information do you have? You also have the airspeed here, low and high airspeed from the battery powered filtering device. You have a filter state indicator, so if your filter is blocking up, you have an alarm state here that you can see whilst you're working. You can then leave the working environment and maintain and change the filters. And you also have a battery state indicator actually inboard on the ADF itself as well. So the welder's being provided with quite a lot of information there. And that battery state indicator is indicating the battery state from the PAPR unit itself, not from the remote control device. So that's quite a unique feature actually from the Kemppi engineering team here, that the work lights are powered directly from the PAPR unit. So you can buy from Kemppi either passive lens respirator model, and that's the PFA model, You then have the SFA model, which features the 60 by 102 millimeter ADF, and then you have the XFA model, which is 74 by 102, and that's also providing you with these very useful work lights. So let's plug this system in whilst we're telling you a little bit about the filtering device itself. So if I bring over here the PFU, it's standing for Powered Filter Unit, and it's a 210E. So this is a maximum air delivery volume of 210 litres per minute. And what does the E stand for? Well, nothing really. It means it's electronic. So yes, it's powered by a lithium-ion battery. We have here the standard lithium-ion battery, but it's also available with a heavy-duty battery, which comes as standard, by the way, with the XFA model. So let's pop that on. You can see actually that you've got a couple of rails on the bottom, and the battery itself just clips on nice and simply, and you'll notice that there is no opportunity to hit the battery securing button, so the battery won't fall off whilst you're using it, which can be quite annoying if you happen to be bumping into things whilst you're working in the fabrication environment. So let's put the standard battery to one side. By the way, this battery will last up to 14 hours, but battery state and battery life is very much dependent on filter state, it's dependent on airspeed, and of course it's also dependent on altitude, because at altitude the motor in the system will run much faster. Therefore, all of these separate parameters and elements draw more energy from the battery. But you can charge within 1.5 to 3 hours, depending on which battery you happen to be using, and you select the battery depending on the usage that you require. But typically you'll be finding that a standard battery with a standard SFA system will be lasting up to 8 hours in the working environment. But like I say, it's all dependent on filter state. So let's talk a little bit about our PFU unit here. You can see that you've got the on-off button. Press for just over 3 seconds and the unit will switch on to speed number 1, a short press and you will reach speed number 2. You can see the battery state indicator. This battery doesn't carry a great deal of charge, but you can see that the filter is very clean. We'll just switch that off for a moment, just for the sound people for the video. But let's talk a little bit about the filter options inside. So you have the orange button at the side. As we say, each orange element is operational, and this can be fitted with, or is fitted, sorry, with a spark arrestor. You then fit a pre-filter, and providing you're changing your pre-filters regularly, you extend the life significantly of your main filter cassette. And that filter cassette simply fits into the cover like that, and it doesn't matter which way round you fit it. And these filters typically will last 2 months, but it all depends on the amount of contamination, the weight of the contamination. If you're working in quite a confined space and you're working with say 1.2 cord wire, there'd be quite a lot of concentration in the air of contaminant. So these filters could block up a little more quickly. So make sure you're changing your pre-filters, check your filter state regularly, and make sure you're keeping aware of the filter state indicator on your PFU unit. The standard particle filter set can also be combined with an A1B1 gas filter cassette, and that gas filter cassette will provide additional protection for specific environments, including hexavalent chromium. Now, that unit literally snaps onto the front of the system, and then you put your standard filter cassette on top. So quite a neat package. But of course, it adds some extra size, it adds some extra weight, and adds some extra cost as well. So you really use the gas filters in environments where it's absolutely necessary. And it has to be said, not everybody is requiring a gas filter. So again, I go back and I say, please know the environment that you're dealing with. Make sure you have local air quality checks so you can actually get independent reference for the type of contamination that you're dealing with in your local working environment. So let's take that system off, and then we can show you the work lights in operation. So we'll just put the standard system back on. By the way, when you fit our gas filter, we also maximise the running time for our gas filter by having some intelligent recognition that the gas filter is fitted. So the actual motor speed is then running on speed number 1, and you don't select speed number 2. That maximises not only the filter life, but it also maximises the battery life if you happen to be using also our XFA system with the work lights installed. So how are the work lights powered up? Well, let me bring to the table what every respirator needs, which is some form of delivery of the air from this point to this point on the respirator head top itself. So you can see with the Kemppi system, what you have here are receiving connectors for the communication between the PFU unit and also the head top itself. So we'll fit that now. Literally connects within seconds. We can then switch the unit on, and then we're going to connect here to the air delivery tube. We're looking for the connection point, and now we can switch on our work lights. Like I said earlier, 70 lumen twin LED work lights, and you'll find that in workshop conditions these are providing absolutely superb illumination for the work site immediately in front of you. So it's your own personal illumination system. Wherever you happen to be, wherever you happen to go, you can see precisely what you are doing, and that's whether you happen to be pre-work inspection, post-weld examination, cleaning, grinding, etc. Okay, so let's reiterate what we're talking about then. Once again, we have here a battery-powered filter system, option for standard battery and also heavy-duty battery. And you've got options for standard filter cassettes and also gas filter cassettes. What else can we talk about with this particular PFU? I'll switch this off again because of the sound. We'll disconnect the air tube. You'll notice that the Kemppi system is also supplied with a fabric protector as standard on the air tube. And that is a nice little additional feature because it stops spatters burning the actual air delivery tube itself. Let's take that off to make a little bit more space. Pop that under the table. Right, comfort. There are a couple of connectors here on the back of the PFU, and they provide option to fit a shoulder harness, and the shoulder harness sits over the top of the torso, and if you have the whole full filter cassette with a heavy duty battery, you can actually suspend that weight quite comfortably off of the body. And it's pretty inexpensive stuff as well, those harness sets, but they do make it particularly comfortable. With standard battery, of course, and a standard filter cassette, there isn't a great deal of weight at all. So you can rely on the leather belt system. And this is quite a nice feature as well. We've got an injection molded Kemppi branded metal buckle, and we have a leather belt as well, which doesn't erode when you're grinding. If you're grinding away and those sparks are coming into the body, then you're not going to erode the quality of the belt itself or the buckle. So Everything is built out of the box. You don't have to assemble everything. All you need to do is to plug it together and go. So I'd like to conclude by saying thank you very much for watching. Check out our videos on www.kemppi.com, and I look forward to talking to you next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.